In a glass-walled boardroom high above the city, a billionaire slammed a contract onto the table, his voice echoing with arrogance. "Translate this, and I'll hire your mom." Across from him sat a quiet 13-year-old girl, her mother's cleaning uniform folded nearby, her Japanese textbooks scattered across the floor. Executives smirked, waiting for humiliation. But what happened next would silence them all, expose a $100 million mistake, and ignite a revolution that would change the world's definition of qualified. But first, please make sure to subscribe the channel and comment below from which city you are watching this video. The morning sun spilled through the towering glass walls of Pinnacle Global's boardroom, illuminating polished marble floors and gold nameplates. Executives sipped imported coffee, murmuring about billion-dollar contracts. In the corner, 13-year-old Zara Williams quietly finished her homework beside a bucket and mop, waiting for her mother to finish cleaning. Her worn Japanese textbooks were her escape, pages filled with characters she'd memorized from library manga and late-night anime subtitled in English. Across the room stood Richard Sterling, the billionaire CEO whose confidence filled every inch of space. His suit cost more than Zara's family earned in months, but his pride cost even more. When he slammed the Japanese contract down before the board, the sound echoed like a gavel. He wanted to make a point that brilliance belonged to people like him, not children from cleaning staff. Zara's mother had always told her to stay quiet while she worked. But when Sterling's taunt, "Translate this and I'll hire your mom," sliced through the silence, something inside Zara shifted. Around her, powerful men looked away, pretending not to hear the insult. The air thickened with unspoken tension, the kind that makes bystanders complicit. To everyone else, Zara was invisible, a child in a place she didn't belong. But beneath the surface, she carried something no one in that boardroom expected. Not just fluency in languages, but the quiet certainty of someone who'd already learned the cost of being underestimated. And when she finally stood, the world as they knew it began to unravel. The air in the Pinnacle Global boardroom thickened with tension. Sterling's laughter echoed like a cruel spotlight as he leaned across the table, his diamond cufflinks catching the light. "Show them what passes for education in the projects," he sneered. Around him, executives fidgeted, some uncomfortable, others pretending not to notice. Zara didn't move. Her small hands gathered the scattered pages of the Japanese contract, her dark eyes scanning the complex characters with ease born from obsession, not privilege. While others saw gibberish, she saw meaning, clauses, tone, structure, all dancing together in fluent comprehension. Then, softly, she spoke. Perfect Japanese rolled from her tongue with calm precision. Gasps rippled through the room. A coffee cup trembled in Dr. Catherine Morrison's hand, Pinnacle's chief operations officer, a woman fluent in 4 languages herself. She knew perfection when she heard it. Sterling's face drained of color. "What did you just say?" he demanded. Zara didn't flinch. Her voice was steady, professional. She explained that the contract contained 3 critical mistranslations, ones that would have cost the company over $12 million. Every executive froze. Phones appeared. Recordings began. The billionaire tried to laugh it off. Lucky guess. But the evidence spoke louder. Zara highlighted specific characters, precise legal terms, and structural inconsistencies no machine translator could ever catch. Dr. Morrison cross-checked her notes and realized Zara was right, completely right. Sterling's humiliation deepened into panic. His empire, his authority, his image, all crumbling in front of his peers at the hands of a girl in a school uniform. To prove her wrong, he dialed his Tokyo office and connected the call to the massive boardroom screen. Japanese executives appeared, confused by Sterling's broken attempts at their language. Then Zara stepped in again, this time with flawless, formal Japanese reserved for elite business negotiations. The Tokyo team's expressions changed instantly, surprise melting into respect. She translated, clarified, corrected. Within minutes, she bridged weeks of miscommunication that had nearly killed a multimillion-dollar deal. But it didn't stop there. More phones rang. German partners with technical confusion. Arabic investors with cultural grievances. Korean suppliers with unresolved disputes. Each time, Zara handled it effortlessly, switching tongues like channels on a radio, adapting accents and tone, translating meaning, not just words. By the time the final call ended, the child everyone ignored had single-handedly saved the company from international collapse. The room that once sneered at her now circled her like disciples before a quiet prophet. Dr. Morrison saw something Sterling couldn't, potential that no resume could measure. But Sterling's ego couldn't survive the blow. His smile returned, tight and venomous. "Let's see how long this little performance lasts," he muttered. Zara, unaware of the storm brewing behind his eyes, returned to her seat beside her mother's uniform, unaware she just turned a moment of mockery into the beginning of a revolution. Sterling's humiliation burned hotter than the boardroom lights. His billion-dollar ego couldn't survive the sight of executives rallying around a janitor's daughter. The phones had stopped ringing, but the storm inside him hadn't. He called legal. He called HR. He called anyone who would listen. Every word was meant to make Zara small again. "She's a child. A liability. A distraction," he hissed into the phone, making sure she could hear every syllable. But the numbers spoke louder than his pride. In 30 minutes, Zara had prevented losses exceeding $78 million. She'd uncovered translation errors, cultural violations, and contractual disasters that their experts had missed for months. Yet when the applause faded, Sterling's voice sliced through the air like broken glass. "Intelligence without credentials," he said quietly, "is just noise." The room froze. Zara sat motionless, her pencil trembling in her hand. He loomed over her, his shadow long across the polished floor. "Stay in your lane, little girl. The grown-ups have real work to do." His business card dropped onto her textbooks like a verdict. "When you're old enough for a real education, maybe my company will let you file papers." Dr. Morrison's face hardened. "That's enough, Richard." But Sterling kept talking, louder now, desperate to reassert control. "We are not turning this company into a charity case. You don't build global empires on pity." Zara's eyes glistened, but she didn't cry. She'd been invisible before, in schools that underestimated her, in hallways where people looked through her, in offices where her mother mopped floors unseen. But this time everyone saw. Everyone heard. The same executives who once looked away were now silent witnesses to a deeper truth, that genius, no matter where it comes from, threatens those who depend on hierarchy to feel powerful. As Sterling stormed out, the boardroom felt colder, heavier. The victory that should have lifted Zara instead left her trembling. She had proven her worth, and still the system had tried to erase her. But revolutions never announce themselves in cheers. They begin quietly, with the sound of someone refusing to stay silent. When the sun rose over the Chicago skyline the next morning, Zara was already back at Pinnacle Global, sitting in the same boardroom where she'd been humiliated. Her mother's cleaning cart stood outside the glass doors, and her textbooks rested beside stacks of emergency reports. A new crisis had erupted, an industrial disaster in Osaka, and once again the company's translators were unavailable. Dr. Morrison's voice trembled as she answered the panicked Japanese call, her limited vocabulary failing her. Then quietly Zara stood. "May I help?" she asked. The next hour changed everything. In flawless Japanese, Zara coordinated emergency protocols, translated complex safety data, and bridged gaps that could have cost dozens of lives. Every instruction, every clarification, every cultural nuance, she handled them with precision far beyond her years. By the time the chaos settled, the Osaka team reported 0 casualties. The factory was safe because a 13-year-old girl had listened where others ignored. When Dr. Morrison presented the results to the board, the data was irrefutable. Millions saved, lives protected, partnerships restored. Zara wasn't a fluke, she was proof. Proof that brilliance exists beyond resumes, beyond privilege, beyond expectation. The board voted 6-1. A new title was created. Director of Global Communications, Zara Williams. Months later, headlines called it the Zara Effect. Companies across the world began rethinking what qualified meant. Janitors turned out to be engineers. Cafeteria workers became economists. Translators emerged from places no recruiter had ever looked. And at the center of it all stood Zara, no longer invisible, but unshakably seen. Years later, when a new generation of workers enter her office with cracked phones and bigger dreams, Zara would tell them what her story had taught her. Talent whispers in every language, but opportunity only speaks to those willing to listen. So the next time you meet someone overlooked or underestimated, ask yourself, how much brilliance are we ignoring simply because it wears the wrong uniform?